More medications, less health. Something's broken. Traditional medicine manages symptoms, but true healing addresses root cause. I'm Josh Rimini, pharmacist turned healer. At Beyond the Pills, we merge ancient wisdom with modern day science to inspire you through stories of transformation, practical trainings, and holistic healing. Join me and other practitioners as we guide you towards vibrant health, body, mind, and spirit, and move beyond symptom management into true healing. Welcome back to this episode of Beyond the Pills, the podcast that explores the path to healing through ancient wisdom, modern science, and the full adventure of being human. I'm your host, Josh Rimini, pharmacist turned healer, and today's guest brings a rare mix of grit, wisdom, humor, and heart. Trevor Stevenson is a father, coach, guide, poet, and adventure coach extraordinaire. He's also a friend of mine. He spent decades empowering others, from leading overland expeditions and whitewater journeys across the globe to building leadership programs that inspire transformation in boardrooms, classrooms, and beyond. Trevor is the founder of ConsciousLead, FUNdaMENtal, we'll talk about that, and Adventure Coaching Experiences, aka ACE. Transformational experiences for men seeking deeper relationships, more fun, and a life of effortless ease. His mission to help men rewire harmful patterns, reclaim joy, and take radical responsibility for the impact they have on the world. Whether he's coaching CEOs or curating soul-shifting travel for men ready to shed their baggage, Trevor is about one thing: making conscious growth not only powerful, but fun. Today's conversation, we're going to explore lots of stuff. How adventure, one of my favorite words, reveals our truest selves, the role of brotherhood and community in transformation, why it's fun, why fun isn't a luxury, it's a healing practice, and how rewiring your patterns can lead to a life of joy, integrity, and freedom. This is the kind of conversation that will light a fire in your gut and put a smile on your face. Let's go. Welcome to the show, Trevor, my friend.
So excited to be here, Josh. Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful intro. It makes me smile just to think of what we get to do in the world, you know?
Well, I love because I don't tell my guests the intro. Like, I make those up from what you send me and all these things. And so I love the curiosity of hearing it coming from someone else, right? Because everybody it just lightens the load a little bit. You know?
Oh, I've got tears in my eyes and my cheeks already sore.
Nice. It's going to make for a great episode for sure. Let's start with your story. What was your own path to leadership and adventure? These are two things I don't think we put together. And what shaped that call to guide others?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, thank you. I'll try to keep this short. It is my soapbox thing because I think there is so much power. There was a lot of luck and definitely some courage on the path that I took. I grew up the youngest of 6 kids in 8 years on a 500-acre farm in rural Ontario, Canada. And it was hard work. And, both parents had full-time jobs. So that 500-acre farm with a couple hundred head of cattle was a hobby farm, and it just seemed to be endless work. But so there was a lot that I took away from that, as with all things. And, you go through this on your podcast, and all that we read, like the way that we are raised has gotten us to where we are. And it's also holding us back from so much of the evolution that we need to experience. And so that hard work, that teamwork really supported me. That make hay while the sun shines kind of mentality is great. Taking breaks, knowing what you are feeling, empathizing with others, not such strong points. So I was definitely ready to leave the farm, but I knew I didn't want more structural school learning. I went and followed the herd into university, kind of a little bit kicking and screaming, knowing it's not what I wanted to do. As expected, floundered, had an amazing time and spent all sorts of money partying, and then, sort of literally and figuratively sobered up and said, what am I doing? I don't need to be paying tuition to be partying like this. And I traveled across Canada out to Whistler, British Columbia. And I got a little more serious, stopped partying as much, and started skiing every day, worked night jobs, and just kind of nothing jobs in service industries and things. But I was living my dream of big mountain skiing every day and having fun and meeting great people and building connections. And then I started traveling, and then I would come back for work stints, tree planting and things. And then I'd go and travel full winters, work 4 months, travel 8 months. And the more I traveled, the more I felt I was getting more comfortable exploring, understanding, and expressing who I truly was. Because there were elements then that I remembered about the farm being this fun-loving, like playful person that was kind of ground into things are serious and you need to go hard if it's going to work out. And so I could do that when it was necessary. And it was interesting as I started traveling the world that both of those aided my journey. Like I would be always the first to jump. I'd see someone who needed a hand, whatever it was, drop their groceries, or had to push their car that just stalled off the road, or someone on a farm doing something that I could jump into. I was always there, and people were just so grateful, so willing to take care of me in return. And then the other side that I was expressing fully, which was just that fun and playful, and that attracted such beauty into my life. And so so that led into the guiding, and I started guiding overland trips around Southern Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and guiding whitewater canoeing on the Orange River, and deep sea fishing and diving, and just doing awesome, cool things like crewing on different yachts on different oceans around the world. And when you are that person who is fun to be around and so willing to dive in and do hard work, it's a pretty beautiful combo for people to experience. And so that was really sort of the genesis of meeting people who were like me and trying to figure out life and who they were, and then also people who were vacationing and sort of getting away from life just to kind of escape. And I would end up at the fire late at night, sitting around with these people who were envious of my lifestyle. And I would just be, well, what's keeping you from doing what you love? And what is that thing that you love? And so often it would be like some sort of golden handcuffs, or just a life they've created, and the family that they have, and the BMW that they drive, and the house that they own, and the college tuitions that they're paying for their kids, and things like that, that they felt they didn't have choice. And so that evolved in my curiosity, in my desire to be a full expression of my truth. And Josh, you know this, it's still unfolding after 50, figuring it out. But I came home, reconnected with my now wife and business partner, Dale, and together now for more than 20 years, we have been running our coaching and leadership development firm, which has had just deeper and deeper evolutions of our interest in what helps people find where they are not feeling well and get to that point of feeling well, so that the impact that they have in their leadership roles, whether that be in their families, in their corporations and businesses, or in their communities, is the best that it can be. Because so oftentimes we don't recognize the impact of the way that we're showing up, and we think that it's just our inner world that is sort of this hidden, and this mask sort of hides how we're really feeling. And so we show up with a smile on our face, but that impact is felt. And so that has really been the journey. That's the journey.
No, I love it. There's a lot to unpack in those statements. One, exploring. As you know, we've been in contact for years. We met serendipitously through a friend of ours in Canada, and we instantly connected. And I think that's where we will talk about conscious leadership and what you're doing. But like, I did the things that I've done in my life recently have been along those paths that you were creating. Like, go with what aligns with you. What's holding you back from having those deep questions, and guides along the way for me, for sure. Everyone needs guides, but it was like I kept saying yes to the things that were in alignment for me. And I took that junk out of the way, said, no more excuses. Of course, it's scary jumping off the cliff every other day because you're like, oh, let's do this, let's do this. And just seeing it unfold for me. But I do believe it's not just the act of like doing what aligns with you or what's in your highest purpose. It's almost like when you make conscious choices towards that, maybe even unconscious, somehow the universe aligns and it just keeps unfolding for you in this beautiful way. And so the act of doing it wasn't all like it wasn't like the after effect was I was in full alignment. And at the same time, doing what was in alignment got me the acts that I needed to move that adventure needle, that fun needle, but not just dopamine hit fun, like really. Like I went to Peru and back. I went to Costa Rica and I love traveling. I've found over the past 5 years I love traveling. It's so fun with my family, with myself, and with other like groups of like heart-centered men doing really cool work. And I loved hearing it from your perspective because I'm sitting here going, there wasn't like one catalyst. It was just I kept making series of choices that I was doing from a self-full perspective, not a selfish or selfish, selfless. And it just worked for me. And I think it's like there's this, I don't want to call it a formula, but like there's a way and manner in which that alignment does help everybody, no matter what. Like your adventure, I'm adventure, it doesn't have to be adventure across the world. It's just what's in alignment. And I think what you said was really important is we can get stuck in the old or the low vibrational patterns of having a job and you know being tied to all these financial responsibilities, which then ties us to, I was thinking about this myself the other day. It was like all the things that are keeping me financially having to do certain things in order to do certain things. And then you start getting like lost in it, right? You get lost and you help people through this process. What I'm trying.
Yeah, I love that. There's an island, very simple island with our name on it down there somewhere, right, Josh?
Yeah.
Without all this stuff. Yeah, it's beautiful to hear that reflection. And you did all the right things, right? That society said you should. You went off and got the education and some more education and the degree and the certification and started the business. And then at the end of that was like somewhere there was the awakening started to creep in, and you're like, wait a second, this isn't working for them. It's not working for me. If it's not working for me, it's definitely not working for them. And I love how you said that. It's just the unfolding, right? You used to share this with I founded a youth nonprofit to try to help kids create a meaningful life for themselves. And it was similar to that. We can only see till the next marker, the next because the earth is round kind of thing. You can't see all the way across it. You can see it to the next horizon line. And then when you get there, you'll see the next one. And I have a 17-year-old who's just finished high school here in Quebec and knows he doesn't want more school. And so I'm working with him on that now. It's just like, so what are all the things that you can explore? Right. And don't hold back, because I get caught in this as well. And society screams, it's so loud. You have to have a plan, right? There needs to be a plan. And my plan was never, okay, I'm leaving traveling so that I can find myself. And when I find myself, I'm going to start a business related to that. And when I do that, my wife, my partner has to be aligned with that. We're going to be in business together. We're going to run it forever. It's just like you're saying, you start on the path, and then if it is the path that is meant for you, the world starts to unfold in ways that align. And if we have, like you say, that courage to keep jumping off that ledge or looking around that corner that we're unsure of, then there's secrets there to behold.
Well, I love what you said earlier was like, it's the same thing we always say is like, it's the journey, not the destination, right? If you keep chasing the sunrise or the sunset, you're never going to find it. Like the earth is round. Like we're never going to get to it. Like we just sit in the moment, be present and do the things that resonate with you. And I had that backwards. Like you said, it's like society imprints you into this conversation about you need to go to college, you need to get a job, you need to start a family, you need to have a good living, you need to do good in the world in some ways, you need to have like all this stuff, right? The outside stuff. And then you said, like, somewhere around this time and age in our lives, you get this awakening, this calling, this soul like yearning that says, is this it? Who am I? What am I here to do? Those bigger, deeper questions. And a lot of the times, I think that societal stuff keeps a lot of us from even listening to that and moving that forward. So let's talk about like the rewiring thing here, right? And you say we've all been shaped by millions of experiences, right? And so what does it look like to start rewiring in your way the harmful ones, if you want to call them that? I think they're teaching experiments.
Yeah, they are, and I like that you say that. And the question is how long we want to stay in school, right?
Ooh, yeah.
Because I think it becomes harmful if we're going to the same class, Groundhog Day kind of thing.
Karmic, yeah, the karmic circle. We were just talking about this the other day. Like how they go ahead. Only
Yeah. So again, hearkening back to that upbringing that got us here. So if my reactivity when my kids or my staff don't do that thing that I think needs to be done right now, there's like a in me that I know happened to my dad, and my dad would lash out in a certain way that was certainly felt. And me not wanting to replicate that cycle and continue that, I like, and now I'm this wise, conscious leader. So I just like, no, okay, can we look at how we can do this differently? And but there's still that inner wiring that is so deep with me. And if I'm not dealing with the actual reactivity and just trying to say the right things, that's what I was saying earlier. That energy is still just felt, right? And you can see it in the way that relationships. And I've had this in my younger days that people are pushed away from me that work for me or that live with me, right? From that energy. And so the rewiring part, which is still, the ongoing process, is we continue to get triggered by dozens, hundreds of things a day. I went for a mountain bike with a guy last night, and it was just, it was a 1-hour coaching session. It was an intense ride. It was fantastic. And it was the conversation that I hear so often with guys, Josh, about this is going on in my life. So this is going on in my head and I don't know how to turn it off. And that I just keep saying, well, that's just the wiring. And he said, yeah, but it's always there. And I said, yeah, because you just, because you're not conscious of it, it's just the dialogue that runs in the background. Carl Jung, right? Until we make the unconscious conscious, it will continue to rule our lives or run our lives, and we will call it fate. And so the work, and it was just a simple bike ride. I said, so start slowing down the reel. What is the thing that you see or hear or think that triggers an emotion within you? And then don't judge the emotion. Oh, I shouldn't and that's what we do, right? Oh, I shouldn't be angry. I shouldn't be yelling. I shouldn't be depressed about this. I shouldn't feel lonely. And so we judge ourselves. And so we try to push it down when that's the actual feeling, and what we resist persists. And so instead of judging that emotion, just note it and say, oh, okay. So and there's such a pattern around the people that are really hurting around these things, which is most of us. There's something going on in our lives that is repetitious, that continues to cause a similar emotion. So every time I feel shitty about something, it's usually caused by a similar thought that goes back to, I am not loved. I don't have enough. I am not worthy. usually
Seen, heard, and understood. Yeah, these. Yep.
totally. And so, what are the thoughts that are creating those energies within me? And I just tell guys, write it down. What was the thought you had? And what was the emotion? What was the thought? What was the emotion? Don't do anything else for a week. Just write that down. And so they create this list. And then I say, okay, awesome. And every time you feel that, how do you want to feel? Wow, I feel depressed. I feel sad. I feel angry. Okay, so how do you want to feel every time you have that thought? You feel this. How do you want to feel? Wow, I'd like to feel calm. I'd like to feel connected. I'd like to feel loving. I'd like to feel peace. Okay. So ask yourself then, even one of the 800 times in a day you feel that, or 100 times, ask yourself what you need to do to feel that way right now. And if you can do that just once of the 100 times, then you rewired the brain in that moment. You broke the pattern of stimulus, response, and now stimulus, awareness, choice. And then we just practice that over and over again. And I said this, I posted just this morning about this because I had that ride last night with this guy, and I'm like, because then his response is, "Oh yeah, you're right. I just need to get over that. I just need to do it.
I need to comes in. The I need to. Yep.
Right. I just need to get over it. I just need to do it." And I'm like, right. And you need that because you've read the books, you've heard the TED Talks, you've been on the podcasts, checked them all out. Like, so what's in the way? It's just the practice. And what's in the way of the practice? Well, you're sitting alone, or you're not sharing this anywhere outside of your own little microcosm mentality. And so it wins. The 4 or 5 decades of ingrained neural wiring wins every time. And so we got to get into community. We have to be in safe spaces where we can share this. And this is where FUNdaMENtal comes in. This is where ACE comes in. In FUNdaMENtal, the men's group, we're together every week. And the biggest thing that guys, I asked them at the end of it is like, what are you taking away and how you're going to apply it? And half the time the guys are saying, it just feels so good to be around others who are experiencing the same thing and that I can share and kind of hear it reflected back to me. Because it's so easy to see when you share of like, oh, you're going through that thing and here's how you can change. But I don't see it when I'm sitting home alone or I'm stuck in that loop with my wife or my kids or my boss, And so we don't get over it on our own. And this is where community is so powerful and so critical.
That's a really eloquent way of why I think men's groups and men's work is so important, right? It's getting in that circle, getting in that community, being in a safe space to share your emotional experiences. Like that story that's like you said, there's so many ways our ego and our wiring is going to talk us out of something. It's just natural, right? We all know we should eat right and exercise. Every single person in the world knows we have a shitty American diet. We don't exercise enough. And there, I need to comes in, but there is no like doing, right? This is why community and why I feel collective and community is such a big part of our new natural expansion of this consciousness and leadership. And we can equate that, like you said, to family, to yourself, to your environment, your community, and to your family and to your business. These are all the connection points we've had. We've had a whole podcast just on the word connection. So I got 2 questions about that because you brought up FUNdaMENtal. But before we talk about what that is and what inspired you to move that collective forward, is why is it so important for men, now that we're in that space? This is one of my favorite places to talk, especially after 40, to take radical responsibility for their emotional patterns.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to move that down a decade to whenever we start having kids. Right. And I think that is in my world, the most like to change that cycle, so that we have figured this out for ourselves. We recognize and are starting to shift our reactivity. Our wives have tried to help us with it already, maybe before we had kids, and maybe we're not courageous enough to really create those shifts. I had a super strong and determined wife who has held me to account of this journey ongoing. We have raised our kids in a way that I think I wrote somewhere, and it's in my bio kind of thing, that about how the kids are really are my greatest teachers. But again, they're only our teachers if we're doing the learning, right? Otherwise, they're just rebelling.
Oh, they're definitely mirrors for sure. But you're right. Like if we, us, world, humanity, yes, the people that are closest to you, your children, my wife, they're my biggest teachers. They're my mirrors. Show right up every day. And they're teaching lessons every day. And I don't get it right every day. It's still a lot of work to break, because what we're talking about is, these wiring patterns are generational. So we're not talking about like your imprint as a child only. These are multi-generational imprints that we're now getting to the place of our consciousness, where a lot of people like you and me are very, very committed. We still screw up all the time, right? There is no excuse. We're all imperfectly perfect people. And I feel like this is the one part of the awakening movement we're seeing in the next 10 to 20 years, where we're breaking some of these low vibrational patterns that have been extended for years, moving into this space. And this is what you're talking about, breaking these patterns. It's really hard work, but it's essential work.
Yeah.
Like going to the doctor when you're 50 for a colonoscopy. It sucks, but it's necessary.
Yeah, and that, just tying into the theme of that and your podcast in general, right? Like the damage. So another point to why this is critical in our 40s. Well, the body stops protecting itself as well in 40s, stops developing some of those immune abilities. And if we continue to do the harm, because every time, and this, every time we have that thought that I am not good enough, there is not enough, I'm not loved enough, that creates a drip, drip, drip of the cortisol and the adrenaline, which again is great, when we got to climb the tree and get away from that bear. Not great every day, all day. That creates the aging, that creates the disease within us, right? And that really slows
one of the core chemical imbalances, because your thought creates the chemical imbalance, right? I talk about this all the time. Fight or flight. Within a millisecond, you have a flood of 1,400 chemicals. So we're not genetically bred any different than we were a couple hundred years ago from this perspective, the biological perspective. That fight or flight is really good, because you want to run out of the way of the car when it's coming buzzing down the street. You didn't have a fight or flight mechanism, you would be dead, completely dead. We would not be averse to any danger. The problem is our perceived thought of danger. I always use the beautiful example of like you're doing yard work outside and you perceive that you see a snake, but it's actually a garden hose. But what is your reaction difference between I thought it was a snake versus it's just a hose? So our perception of that reality is what creates that cascade. So working not only to rewire, because yes, cortisol and the flood of all those fight or flight chemicals, they're necessary, but we can't keep up with the Joneses when it's 70% of our day.
Yeah.
Right. When we were in, let's just call it when we were cavemen, right? When we were getting chased from the bear, because you're from Canada. There are more bears there. For me, maybe even a tiger. I don't know. But like 10 generations ago, you got eaten or you didn't. And then went back to bed. Your cortisol went right down, and then you went back to life. There was no, I'm just running and chasing, but our minds getting stuck in traffic or getting in an argument with somebody. It's the same process as getting chased by a freaking bear. So it does. It's so damaging to the body. And this is why I don't work with people unless we're working with that word stress in their lives.
Yeah.
Because the stressor is going to be there. We're in a highly toxic environment. It's there 24/7. The blue lights are going. You're plugged in all the
Buzz, buzz, ding, 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 ding.
We've got electric smog. We've got chemical imbalances. We got all these things that are there to jiggle us into the sympathetic space, and the parasympathetic rest and digest is when we're getting these things moving. Breath work. This is why breath work and yoga and meditation and adventure. And I had this conversation. So I want to get into FUNdaMENtal, but I also want to get into the ACE thing because I want to talk about the adventure, the fun, the place where we can be connected, especially in nature, because I think that's part of it. But and I'll get to the story I was talking to with a friend of ours the other day. But tell us about FUNdaMENtal. What inspired this men's collective, and how do Brotherhood and Fun support deeper healing?
Yeah, thank you. FUNdaMENtal. Well, first of all, I was so I knew I wanted to do this. So I've been a part. So where we live here in the hills of Gatineau, there's a 90,000 hectare park or something at our doorstep, and so we're forest bathing by nature. Just
Japanese businessmen pay lots of money to do what you just said.
No, it's so true. And so when we were early married, me and a group of guys, there's 5 of us and kids, we knew we wanted to connect more, and we're all pretty we would find our way to semi-serious conversations beyond the drinks and the jovial and the sports, and say, hey, how's work, and so we kicked it off, and this was, Josh, probably 13 years ago. And so Wonderful Wednesdays today, we meet up. The messages have been going around. Okay, it's a hike tonight. We're going to this trail, and we've been doing that, and that has seen us through the challenges and continues to see us through of parenting, of marriage, of business and finances, of divorce, of coupledom, of all the stuff, and then just pure foolish fun, and down to the Adirondacks and hikes and peaks, and just live. And it is always, the recipe is always nature, deep conversation, and foolishness. Those are inevitable, that those will always be a mix of what we're doing, and it was such a fantastic recipe. And I knew and it's a little bit like the guys, and rightfully we want to, it can't grow too big, this thing. But I knew through all the conversations, and as a coach, I get to work with hundreds of people, and so the stories remain the same, but I cannot invite them all out here on Wednesday night, and 70 of us trying to hike this trail in the dark and stuff. But I knew I wanted to share this experience with more guys, because my evolution continued, and I kept seeing guys that were curious about, like you were saying, the start of the path, and can I open this door, and what's around that corner? And I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And so it was a want to bring those people together in some way. And so we have guys from the West Coast, and guys in the UK, and guys in South Africa, and guys in the US. And so it's a virtual space where we connect every week. And I kick each person off with a bit of a curriculum, that navel gazing, and then we have a coaching call to just set some intentions, areas of focus that are most important for them. And then, Josh, it's really like, I have a theme that I come up with every week. This past, just now, Monday, was what women want. And there was good attendance, believe it or not. The guys wanted to jump into the conversation.
The universal question we're still looking to answer in complete form.
Yeah, we had full participation. So, and it was cute because, we got to share our biggest challenges. So that builds connection and community. And, but then we got to reground to the fact that we still are the change. If we want our relationship to be different. And so it was nice because we had tidbits of what everyone thinks their woman has wanted and I was able to distill that back down to these things that reside within us so that if whatever it is we that our woman may want in our lives or partner, let's say, the power lies within us to figure that out and to be that if we so choose. So that's one example. But at the end of it, it's, we talked earlier about knowing and being, doing. And so that's always my question at the end of these. Okay, what's your takeaway and how are you going to apply it in the next 24 hours? We go around and we hear from everyone and then we check back in. And so we have daily, we have our group chat and we check in every day and we journal every day to just slow down, inspire the guys to slow down and take 5 minutes. What am I grateful for today? What am I proud of today? What was fun today? What am I excited about tomorrow? And what was challenging about today? And just that 5 minutes that the guys take to do that is such a powerful exercise. And we all know it. There's how many times have we heard that, the gratitude journal, and just pause and journal and reflect on these things. But how many of us are doing it, right? Even the guys who call our spotty.
Yeah, and it speaks to me because I just looked at my little cube that I got in one of my men's circles, front row dads, which is amazing. And I have this little cube, and who did I help today? What did I do better today than yesterday? What was the best thing that happened to me today? What am I grateful for today? How did I make someone smile today? Like, they're just little reminders. And I'll tell you what, like, honestly, like, I hadn't looked at this block for a while. So what I heard you say is we all could use a little accountability with each other because it does work. And the science supports it. So when I work with lifestyle, you know me, I like work with lifestyle and functional. I change, like, we all know, like, we have to eat right and exercise. But when you go in a group and you're accountable to something else other than you, whether it's your child, like your spouse, your men's group, your workers, whatever, you have accountability partner, accountability buddy, you're just going to do it. In fact, it's 83% of the time. So the studies support when you have accountability, you'll follow through with whatever that task is 83% of the time. The DIY people who all think it's easier to do it themselves and cheaper and, more, like 23% of the time. So I like the 80-20 rule flipped to the 80, right? The Pareto principle applies here. Yeah. And that's why I think it's important to say, like, just having the accountability is worth the price that you may pay. Now, pay does not mean it can be energy, it could be money, it could be time, right? There's different forms of energy that you're applying to that. And so I love that you brought that up, that these men's circles that you're in support the healing because you're accountable, and you can also express and see, like you said, it's easier to see it outside of the frame than being in the frame. And so when you see someone else, and you also, I love when I'm in men's circles and we're expressing these. My neighbor has been doing men's work for 30 years. I'm in a bunch of different groups that can do these things, but one of them is also seeing the commonality, right? When somebody's expressing it and then you get to feel in your side, in yourself, that's me too. Now it's becomes this connection point that we've been talking about. It says you're not alone in this. It's a direct or indirect, but most of the time it's common because we're all going through the same human cycle, really.
Oh, and especially men, right? Like, I mean, women, yes,
men, yes, right? This is why I love working with you and other people, why we instantly connect, because we're so drawn to this part here. What I call it men's work, but it's the work we do as men that we haven't been able to do up until now, to express this stuff and get it out, get that energy out. Because like you said, it happens to me all the time. It's like, I'm not grounded. I'm jittery. I don't know what's going on. Like it's stuck in there because it can't express it out. And when you express it out in your family or your workplace or a place that doesn't hold that container for you without judgment is unhealthy. And so that's why we're talking here, right? Is to
Oh,
get more men to do this.
absolutely, Josh. And you hit on such a great point that when we're feeling that energy, you and I both said it. We were feeling kind of something before the call. I had a thing with my wife. I don't know what was going on for you, but we both went outside before the call, unbeknownst to the other. We both went and put our feet on the ground and breathed the air and like reground. And so we have chosen healthy strategies to reach that point, to decompress in that way versus, oh, I need a smoke, man, or I need a joint, or I need a drink, or I need some porn, or I need an affair, or I need to go to work.
What it is, right?
And so it's choosing healthy strategies, and we weren't given those. We weren't taught that, not to know our own emotions, let alone to understand what to do with them if we do know them, right? And it's the biggest thing. Like, so on the trips, it was cool. Like on venture coaching experience, I brought my push-up bars, and they kind of come apart, and I sort of take them everywhere I go when I travel. And everybody, they ordered them before they got home, so they were on their doorsteps, and it was just like, and it just became this kind of a joke, but a strategy is like, we get into this like a stressful mindset. Our prescription, beyond the pill, was 10 push-ups, 10 push-ups, and like, you change your state, as Tony Robbins always saying, right? Change state. Like, and it's that quick. 3 breaths.
That's the refractory period of our emotional reaction, not response, is the loop, right? That loop, and breaking that loop, you're right. You can flush this out in 90 seconds physiologically. So it's what we choose to hold on to, and having, like you said, the healthy tools, which are learned, which are rewired, right? We need to rewire. Like I just said, you know what? I have 10 minutes. I had to check myself because I could check an email. I could get a little extra work done. I could have jumped in the lab to get something, but I chose outside. I chose me for that moment in time that just said, I want to be grounded in this conversation that I'm having with Trevor. It's going to be amazing. And you know what, Josh? Just go outside. It's a beautiful day out. You need it. And that was it. That was it. That was it. I took my phone down. I sent one text message on my way out. And then I was like, you know what? That's the other thing. We tell people to like get out in nature. It's one of my daily dozen is just be in nature. But it's not to go out and get on this or to check your email or to, it's to be, it's natural. We love being out in nature. It's part of our human experience to connect, even if you don't feel it, to connect. And like you said, you throw your shoes off, hug a tree, right? Hug a tree.
Yeah.
It sounds simple. It sounds stupid sometimes, but it works. Just touch the tree if you don't want to hug it. Just feel all that stuff. Well, let's get into nature. Adventure coaching. You told me about your Nicaragua trip last year and how awesome it was. Tell people about what is ACE. You have one coming up, I believe.
December, yeah.
December. Who's it for? And what do men walk away with?
Yeah. Well, it's for the Joshes, the Trevors, and the dudes who are just starting that journey of like, I know like stuff doesn't feel right. You were talking earlier, and whether the reaction for some is that reach for like something that's unhealthy, and the nice guys, just go quiet and they push it down.
They stuff it in. Yeah.
Right. And we erode until we explode. It's for those guys who know they are not feeling good in their bodies, in their minds, in their relationships, and want that break. And then break the cycle and come to this place of incredible awareness, which isn't hard, right? Like what you share on your podcast, like ding, 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 synapse happening, right? And but to be in the practice, then I'd said earlier about environment being stronger than willpower, I think. But anyway, I'm saying it now. Um, and so to try to change within our own environment. So it's one of the reasons FUNdaMENtal runs every week. I started FUNdaMENtal for myself. If no one else joined, I was just going to keep doing it because I was being accountable to myself. And I'd set all these goals and I tracked like 22 daily habits that I want to keep on for my own wellness and connection and love and growth and business and all this. And so I created that environment called FUNdaMENtal, and people have started to come on that journey with me. Ace, I realized I needed to combine for my fulfillment. My work over the 20 years has it for a short time was in a suit, and very short time even a tie, and in boardrooms and stuff like that. And then it evolved to like taking people, no, let's, if we're going to do a team thing, we're going to rent this place that's out in nature. And it just, I'm getting more and more. And it's taken 20 plus years to get to this place of everything that I did in my world travels has added up to all that I am and the best parts of me. You talked about travel and the love of that. So the guys who come on these trips are lovers of adventure, and they've probably done some of that, like whether it was spring break or that trip to India or Thailand or even just out to the East Coast, West Coast, whatever. There's something that comes alive in them, and I believe it is in all of us, but it somehow dampened through fear. But when you can go out and explore in a safe environment, we get away from the environment that has shaped us. And that's the environment being stronger than willpower. No matter how much coaching I do, if we have one session a week and the other, 99.9% of your life is in that environment that is toxic, you're not going to change. And so adventure coaching experiences is like pure extraction from your environment.
It's immersive, right? You're unplugging everything. You're getting out of your space. This is why I love retreats. This is why I love doing the things we do when we're in experiential world, masterminds, wherever. You're gone. Put it all away. Yeah. This is you time, right? Yeah. It gives you permission. It gives that unconscious permission too.
Yeah, and it's not just, hey, I'm going to the beach for a week either, right? It'd be all, or I'm going on a party.
You do it in this playful way. You do it in this adventurous way, and adventure is one of my gene keys. It's one of my core, so it is for me. So, and when I don't get that sense of unknown, adventure, safety, like there's safety in that for me. So when I don't get it, that's when I get, and it's a release mechanism too for empaths, for people like me who go into the fields, they coaches, healers, we all need a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Much more than just people that can deflect all of that, because we're taking on other people's energies in a way that we need to release. And this is the best way to do it, in my opinion.
Right. And back to the man and the man role, right? We were raised in a way to take that on, whether we are coaches, therapists, pharmacists, empaths, in any way, we are positioned in society, like the societal patriarchal system is strong, and we hold it up by playing that role of like thinking that we need to be all things for all people. And then if we are failing at that in any way, we feel that we are a failure, and it just compounds the stress within us. And so getting away, it relieves us from those roles for a moment. So like you were saying about in FUNdaMENtal, we can stand back and look at it objectively. And then, I'm doing the coaching within it. So the process itself is articulate or crafted in a way that we start with breath work and yoga. So yoga has been, a life changer for me. I've been doing it every day for the last 4.5 years. And as the over 40, we start to lose that flexibility, elasticity, all of these things. And so anyone, athletes and people just with injuries or chronic pain, and it's such a life changer. So we do that every day. And the guys were like, couldn't touch their knees, but they were so, okay, what time's yoga? What time's yoga? They were so happy to be doing it. And we're all at different stages, and it's all beautiful, And then they just took on right afterwards. They just went straight into journaling because they were in that state. It was beautiful. And I'd go and help get breakfast and the most amazing food. And then every morning we go off and we do an adventure. We were climbing volcanoes. We were riding motorbikes or quad bikes. We were paddling kayaks. We were surfing or just playing on the beach in the tidal pools and things. So every morning is some cultural activity or just adrenaline activity because dudes need movement and they need to be immersed in that sort of play. And then when we come back and we eat and we have a bit of a siesta, and then in the afternoons, we're just wherever we are, we're hanging around and we go through the curriculum that I've designed for this evolution of how we want to become the person we truly are at our core. And that then after day 1, day 2, it just starts spilling out into all the rest. And there's little 2s here and 3s there and people walking on their own and just thinking about this stuff, talking, sharing their experiences. They're crying together. They're like hearing each other's story. They're relating, and that brotherhood. So that like they don't want to leave. They don't want to leave the place, the fun. They don't want to leave the brotherhood. And so as a part of it, they roll straight into FUNdaMENtal. I include that in your registration of ACE so that, again, it's not a moment in time. It's like, oh yeah, the cube on your desk there. Oh yeah, I got to pick that up. It's like, no, every week we're revisiting, we're going back to it. And so to be able to stay in that practice is like, it's my desire, because I have, we talked about our own journeys. There's been I'm one of those seminar junkies. I've done it all. Like I'm always reading the books, everything, and that's important. That's critical. But if we're not in a space where we're applying that in community, it's too easy to fall off. Yeah. So
I was reminded of that this week with one of my mentors, good friends. I seem to befriend every mentor I've ever had. I don't know why. It just happens. That's how I roll. He's one of my meditation teachers. And I was like, yeah, I want to go on this 10-day retreat and meditation. It's going to be amazing. He's never done this before. And we decided we were going to do a retreat, us like guiding and leading people in Costa Rica. I think mine's going to be either in January or in November or in January next year. And I was like, I think there's a conflict because that's when I want to go on this retreat. And I was like, at this point in my life, I'm like, whichever one like unfolds the right way is going to be the way I go. Like, I know it. And he's like, he messaged me back and he's just like, Josh, you've done a lot of retreats. You've done you've shown up. It's now time for you to do for others. And I was like, well, that made so much sense. Like, it wasn't like you get stuck in going to these things, is what I'm saying. It's like, oh, the guy you follow is doing another one. So you're going to go do another one. You're going to do another Tony Robbins and a Joe Dispenza and another one and another one. And all of a sudden you get stuck in your own loop of learning without doing. And I think this is the slowdown. This is emergence. You're in that space and you have that permission to just do.
Yeah, and I think do for others is what you're expressing here, right? In a way, Josh, that part of that not leading is thinking that I am not fit to lead. Right? That I need something more. I need one more seminar. I need to read one more book.
Syndrome. We all have it.
Right. And so to put yourself like that cliff to jump off of, right, is like, I'm putting it out there. I'm doing it. And
it's the natural tendency for me because I'm very intellectual. So it's part of what's my protectors too. It's like, I'll read the book. I'll keep reading. And then it's like you said, it's like, well, what are you going to do in the next 24 hours that's going to get you to the next thing that you need to do, right? It's that accountability, that extra space of like we all have our own medicine here, right? It's like moving that forward. So I love how you have this experience. So December, Nicaragua.
Yeah, man.
You're going back, right? This is where
Yeah. It was actually one of the guys. So my vision, and part of the thought that it was necessary, but also because I love travel, is I'm gonna go to a different place every time, and it'll be awesome. But it was one of the guys on the trip, because he was able to see like how much went into orchestrating this, because we do 3 days in 3 different places, and we're in this little colonial town, and then we're out on Volcano Island, and then we're out on the ocean on the Pacific coast. And so there are a lot of logistics. And he said, like, man, this is crazy. Why don't you just do it again here? I'm like, oh yeah, there's there's 10 people of the 8.5 billion humans, maybe whatever, half male, who have done this trip. I think I can find a few more to do this one. And it was all perfect. So yeah, I absolutely want to do it again. And the play and the fun, we talk about what we want people to feel, Josh, and I think this is why we do what we do in the world, because we realize there's a heaviness that we experience. There's an onerous energy that is just we live with it, and it's not our nature. And I think we're made to be in community. We're made to smile and shine and have fun and dance and bounce. And I think so much of that is lost in our male species. I'm going to speak to that. Women are a lot better at going out and being in community, and laughing and playing and being honest and crying with each other and stuff. That's the work that you and I are bringing here. And ACE is a place to do that safely, to kick off a journey that you're ready for.
Well, I just had this because I wanted to try in grounded work, right? Embodiment, this is what we're talking about, but also that fun part of it. Like, guys like to do stuff. They like to move their bodies. So it's almost like, well, if we're going to do grounding and embodiment and releasing some of these energies, why don't we do it the way that we're already wanting to do it, right? Let's go climb a volcano and have some freaking fun. And at the same time, you're coming back and you didn't do anything. Like, there wasn't work involved. You had fun, but then all of a sudden you're free and clear. You feel so much better. I think I might have answered my question, but what practices are you using to stay grounded in your own growth? And what's alive for you right now?
Beautiful question. So that nature thing is huge for me, like you said. Like, just the getting outside, and it's also why I go to Nicaragua, and how the family, my wife, has kind of been very generous with me, because I spent 6 weeks down there last year. A 10-day trip, but I spent 6 weeks because it's cold up here, man. I am built for the warmth, and
hey, you choose. We all choose where we live. And but you chose for 6 weeks to live somewhere else.
Oh, truly. And so when I'm here, and like in the summers, I live outside. I have this beautiful space around me, and I, like, every day I'm like, I feel fantastic, and we got long light, and the days are just warm and easy. And so I know I there are habits that I need to do, and and one of my habits is be outside for 20 minutes a day. And it's funny, for 6 months of the year, I'm like, geez, why is this thing even on my list? And then we go into the dark, cold times, and I'm like, ooh, geez, I didn't get outside today, and I just, so to answer your question, the things that I do, there are a lot of these habits. My yoga is one, my meditation practice, my daily journaling, we are practitioners of nonviolent communication, Marshall Rosenberg's work. And so even in the challenge my wife and I had this morning, we just like paused. Okay, let's stop talking. We're gonna go write this down. NVC. We'll figure this out for ourselves, and we'll come back together on it. So that's it. It's that the conflict doesn't stop in our lives just because we're on a journey. It's how we relate to whatever's going on in the world. And so I stay fit, I eat well, and I really try to stay in community. I'm really intentional about that, reaching out to people, to guys, and wanting to give and just trusting. So what I deal with actually, Josh, most to answer that question, I think probably the biggest thing that is at the root of so much stress and conflict within me and around me is like a scarcity mindset. That was something that, again, came from the farm, right? There's never enough help, time, money. And that is so I have coach, I have a business coach, I have, I use AI for this to just think things through on my own. And I work at it constantly, that and all the stuff. And that's it. Like it's not, and people don't want to do it because they think they have to like stop their life or business, and it isn't that way. It's there are additions and applications for sure. Like I take my hour and a half every morning. I have to get up in the fives to get it done, but that's the lifestyle that I've chosen to so that I can be well and have the impact that I want in the world. But for the most part, it's just like being aware that the homework I gave to that guy when we were biking last night is like, just have your phone, write down, like open a note every time you have that thought, just put a hashtag, put a mark, whatever. And that's it. I'm not saying, okay, you got to go an hour coaching session a day. You don't have to stop what you're doing to like set aside time. It's just like be present, and I think there's so much to that. Again, we're here sharing a lot of words and ways, right? And it's up to your audience here to just take any one of these things and start to do something different for themselves. That, as we were saying earlier, you see something different, you experience it a little differently. And if you can do that and feel the benefit of it, then you're gonna look around the next corner.
Well, I think that's the proof, right? The proof of the proof's in the pudding, right? Is when you actually, that's why I just say a lot of clients, especially the one-on-ones, is like, just go on the ride with me. Just go on the ride. Just go through it until you experience it, and then tell me if it didn't work for you. Because there is many ways to do this, but like getting out in nature is nice to say, but until you do it for 20 minutes, we know it's like 14 to 21 days, create a habit, yada yada. But it's not. It's just go do it. See how you feel. Mark it down. AI, you can do any different ways now. It's so much easier to notate things that happen because it's important, right? So I think you answered my question of like, what's the one thing people can do, which is just get out and do it, right?
Yeah, be in action. And the first thing for me, I think, Josh, the one thing that I would ask people to do is just to notice. And the part B is notice without judgment, which is kind of the hardest part, because as soon as we start noticing where we get triggered, so to finish the first, it's notice when you feel an emotion, a big emotion. It can be like, oh, I feel fantastic. But joy was one of the, joy and anger were our two emotions that were okay, right? As boys, as men. But what else exists? And even if it is joy and anger, just note those. And the first thing that we jump to most often is to deny or justify. Well, I was angry because they did that. He cut me off, right? He didn't deliver that report on time, right? And so just to notice without judgment of self or other. So just to notice, and like bonus points if you get to the writing it down stage, because then you will see how emotional we are as humans. And that, damn, if I'm that emotional, I should really like pay attention to where those emotions are originating, which is up here. And then you mentioned Joe Dispenza, and a long time before him, of course, but he did great research behind it. Is all of that thinking is creating the emotions, it's creating that chemical cocktail that you mentioned that is getting dumped into our bodies. And if I care enough about myself and the impact, then I'm going to start to pay attention to the thoughts.
I love that. Thank you. Well, where can people learn more about you, ConsciousLead, FUNdaMENtal?
for the adventure coaching experiences?
I think the easiest is like my websites all kind of point to the same place, but if you remember my name, trevorstevenson.com, most things will lead there. That'll lead to our ConsciousLead page, and there's ACE, there's FUNdaMENtal. I'm sure my handles are on there. Fun Road to Freedom is one of my Instagram handles, and LinkedIn, Trevor Bryce Stevenson. But I'm sure we'll put that in show notes.
See all the links in there.
I'll be sharing.
You're on LinkedIn, you're on Instagram. Yeah. You have some beautiful website, like amazing. Beautiful.
Brother. This is beautiful, and I'm honored to be here, and it's a privilege to speak to your audience of seekers, people who are paying attention and wanting to do it differently, and those are the people that I want to speak to as well. And I know there are people who want to do it differently. I don't need to convince those who are happy with whatever they're experiencing, and those who are looking for a different experience, let's do it.
Well, I just that brings me back to one of the things that I continuously say is every single human being has the right to be vibrantly healthy. We have the right. And vibrant, I just put the vibrant word in there because that's what makes the difference. It's not healthy. Like I'm going to live till I'm 100 and be miserable. No, I'm vibrant. Like, so vitality for men is really important to me right now. And so thank you for all the work you're doing for men, for women, for everybody, for our children, for breaking these cycles. It's been a fun ride just to get to know you a little bit and to be on some of these adventures. And I'm hoping one day soon we will be on one of those adventures.
Yes, sir. I hope so. I love it. Josh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's a wrap, guys. Until next time, stay well. Thanks for joining me today on Beyond the Pills. If our mission to de-prescribe 10 million unnecessary medications resonates with you, share this episode, subscribe, and leave a review. Whether you're a practitioner or someone ready to reclaim your health, visit rx2wellness.com for free resources to begin your journey. Together, let's go beyond the pills and co-create a world of vibrant health and true healing. Until next time, live better and stay well.